talking about border processing, and we're talking about using the CBP One app. We're on the same page about that? I think so. That's the notes that I had. Okay, cool. So, all right, let's start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. Welcome to another episode of Deportation Defense Live. My name's Otis Landerholm. I am your host, and I'm happy to be here with you. It's Tuesday, the 11th of July that I'm filming this of 2023. And thank you so much for tuning in today to another episode of Deportation Defense Live. Today we're going to talk about kind of an update on border processing and the use of the CBP One app. All right, and so hopefully I can clarify what's happening at the border right now. So welcome, thank you for being here. I'm also going to share one announcement that just happened last week in just a moment. But for now, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, the Deportation Defense Live is here to train, teach, inspire, and empower immigrants who are facing deportation to make the most out of immigration law, to make the most out of their lives, and to win their cases. All right? Are you facing removal in immigration court, or do you know someone who's facing removal in immigration court? Because if so, you know that it is not easy. It is an uphill battle. The laws are against us. And here at the Deportation Defense Live, we are here to maximize your chances of winning that case. All right? So today our theme is what's going on at the border right now, border processing and the use of the CBP One app. And so we're here and we're live. And if you're tuning in, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn, if you're tuning in, thank you for tuning in. And if you are, and if you have questions, feel free to submit your questions. I'll do my best to answer whatever questions we get. Okay? So I like to start with a brief empowerment tip. And my tip today is real quick, and it's just that sometimes you've got to be willing to get uncomfortable. All right? Change is uncomfortable, and the world around us is changing. It's changing quickly, right? Very fast. AI, the space race, Bitcoin, the blockchain, all kinds of technology is just changing the world, okay? Not to mention wars and all kinds of other things that we read about in the news every day, climate change, everything else. The world is changing. And so to start feeling comfortable with change, you've got to be willing to get uncomfortable. And the question that I have for you is there anything that you want in your life that you either don't have or you've never had before? Because if so, you're going to need to change something about what you're doing in order to acquire or obtain or receive or attract. So, if you want something different, but you continue to be and do the same, then that's the definition of insanity, right? You need to be willing to get uncomfortable and to change something about yourself so that you can adapt and attract whatever it is that you want new in your life, okay? So take that on. Take on doing something that pushes you outside of your comfort zone. Take on doing something uncomfortable once a day, once a week at least, all right? So that way you can push yourself to be more comfortable with change. That's my empowerment tip. Hope that's helpful this morning. If it was, let me know. And if it wasn't, hey, let me know that too. All right? I appreciate the comments and the feedback. So I have an announcement today, ladies and gentlemen. I have an announcement, and this is an announcement from the Department of Homeland Security from the 10th of July, so yesterday. All right? There has been an announcement that the government is allowing for a quote-unquote family member reunification parole process. That's a mouthful. Family reunification parole process. This is specifically for people who have filed petitions, have family petitions approved for people from Colombia, El Salvador, Guatemala, y Honduras. All right? So if you are listening to this and if you have a family member in Colombia, El Salvador, Guatemala, or Honduras, and if you filed a petition for that person, what this is saying, what this new announcement is saying is that those people with pending petitions, those petitions might be pending for years, right? Sometimes those family petitions, if it's for a sibling, for example, it might take 10 or 15, sometimes even 20 years for that petition to get approved. Well, guess what? This announcement allows them to come into the United States and to wait for their place in line here in the U.S. with parole, okay, with a renewable work authorization document, Social Security cards, all of those benefits. Wait here in the U.S. for your green card, not overseas. That's a game changer, everybody. That's a huge deal. And I was excited to read about it, and I'm excited to share it with you today. So if you have filed a family petition, and if that petition has been approved already for somebody in any of those countries, Colombia, Guatemala, Honduras, or El Salvador, hey, contact our office. Let's talk it over. Let's do a consultation. Let's really think about it as to would it make sense, and could we get that person in much quicker with a parole process so that they don't have to wait the months and years for that visa to become available. They don't have to wait in their home country. At least they can wait here in the U.S. Okay, got it? So that's my announcement. Now I want to talk about the topic of today, and I'll schedule a much more thorough training about who qualifies and doesn't for that new announcement. It's brand new, folks, so this is hot off the press, and there's not a lot of regulations and not a lot of information out there as to what criteria the government is using as to when to authorize that parole. Okay. So anyway, but now I want to switch gears and I want to talk about the border. It's also new. It's also happening right now. But so yesterday, a gentleman from Venezuela came into my office, and he's got a court hearing coming up in September. And looking over his documentation, he very recently entered the U.S. using the CBP-1 app. All right? And so I want to talk about the CBP-1 app. You may have heard about it in the news, all right? And as a result of my consultation, I went onto my smartphone and I downloaded the CBP-1 app to see for myself what it's like. And it wasn't that difficult, right? It wasn't that difficult. You do need an email address. You need to put in your verification methods, your cell phone number, etc., all right? And verify that you can access your email and your cell phone while you're using the app and while you're setting it up. All right, which, yes, unfortunately, that will be a barrier for some people. I think the government is working on how to create better access for wider varieties of people. Maybe they are, maybe they're not, but they should be, right? But anyway, so don't let the barrier of needing a cell phone stop you. Right? Really get a smartphone or get a friend that has a smartphone and download this app and use it in your entry into the U.S. It's going to save a lot of trouble, all right? It's going to save a lot of trouble with the processing of your asylum request at the border. Let me tell you why, all right? Let me tell you why. Our client didn't get detained, no detention. Our client was processed in a little over an hour instead of days and weeks of waiting for a credible fear interview. Our client didn't need to complete a credible fear interview. All right? Now that's something that, hey, it might change with the use of the app. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Our client was scheduled for an immigration court hearing and was given the documents he needs regarding that hearing right away. All right? It saves a lot of hassle for people. It's the best and most orderly way to enter the U.S. to seek asylum that I've ever seen. I've been doing this for 12 years. Okay? Now, it's probably going to get much more full, right? Or it's probably going to be more, but the idea is that the government is pushing people to use the app to make it more orderly and to prevent unlawful entry without inspection, unlawful crossings of the border. Well, the concern, of course, is that international law, U.S. asylum law, grants people the right to seek asylum even when they are fleeing violence and having to cross a border essentially through no choice of their own, if they're being like hunted right now by crazy persecutors or by their own government, right? And so that's one piece of it. But people who are crossing the border right now undocumented, right? You know, they might be prosecuted. In fact, I've seen, at least in the news, some instances where they're getting prosecuted, some evidence that they're getting prosecuted more even for just a first-time entry into the United States, unlawful entry. But after that, right, and after going through that process, in theory, if somebody's life is in jeopardy, you have the right to request a credible fear interview and to exert your rights under U.S. asylum law still, all right? But, oh my gosh, if you could do it through the app, it'll save you money going through the process, all right? It will reduce the risks of having to meet higher burdens of proof and having to go through the credible fear interview screening. And so I highly, highly, highly recommend that people go through and use the CBP One app, and you can access it on either Android or iPhone. You do need a smartphone in order to access it, but I just can't encourage people enough to do that. Okay? So are there any questions out there? If there are any questions out there, please submit them. I'd love to talk it through. We get questions sometimes, hey, what if I can't afford a cell phone, right? Or what if I can't understand the app because it's only in English and Spanish, right? Maybe you're from the Ukraine and you've got a ticket to Mexico and you're planning on crossing. Well, the app's not in Ukrainian, right? In those situations, it's how can I say it? Like, find someone who can help you translate so that you're looking at the app with someone who can help you translate. And either work with a friend or like if you can't afford a cell phone on your own, great. Have a friend lend you their cell phone for this purpose. And just let the friend know that you're going to need to take that cell phone in with you when you go to your appointment, and then you can get it back to them in the future. But it's like there are ways to work around the cost, but ultimately it's going to save you a ton of headache and frustration going through the process. I highly recommend doing it. Okay? Then, the other thing, though, is here, asylum is not easy, right? This app might be a step. I'm not going to say it's a step in the right direction necessarily. It's a different process. It might be more orderly in many ways. People, can request their appointment, show up, and theoretically get paroled in and get documents to go to an immigration court and to be allowed to present their case. So, but that's just the beginning, right? It starts a very, very long, slow, and difficult process. All right? Filing for asylum is not easy. And U.S. asylum law, the way it works, imagine a giant funnel, right? Where at the top of the funnel, it's large because the law allows everybody who's entering the country to submit the request. But the bottom of the funnel is very small because the law only will approve the cases in a very narrow set of circumstances. And like, how do you become one of those few cases that actually wins asylum? You know, the vast majority, it's like 70% of cases get denied, right? And that's a nationwide statistic, right? And that statistic fluctuates up and down. It might not be the statistic as of today's date, but I think it's right. You know, 30% approval rating, 70% denial rating. It's like, how do you maximize your chances of approval? Well, really the best advice is once you're in the US, after you go through the app, right, and you click the button that says that you're a traveler, and you click the first option they give you of scheduling your appointment, and your appointment will typically be 2 weeks out, okay? And you might need to check every day for an appointment to be available, and you should do it first thing in the morning if their appointments are full. But it's like that's the way to get into the U.S. now until, you know, and there's lawsuits about it, and we'll see what happens. But then once you're in the U.S., now you've just started a very long and very difficult legal battle for your right to stay in the U.S., and either you win that battle and you get legal protection in the form of asylum in the U.S., or you get ordered deported, all right? And that is the asylum process. That is the way it works. And my best advice is you're going to want a very, very good asylum lawyer to help you present your case in the strongest light possible to maximize your chances of winning, right? Because ultimately, yeah, getting into the U.S., yes, is one challenge, but winning your case is a much, it's difficult. It's not easy. So, and the law just is convoluted, all right? And it makes it very, very challenging for people. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share today. That's the way the CBP One app is working. If you have questions about that, please send them in. If you have a situation or a process, or you're wanting to seek asylum in the United States, feel free to contact our firm. Our consultations team is outstanding. We're here to help. We would love to help. And so that's really it, folks. That's really it. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Everybody on Instagram and LinkedIn and TikTok and Facebook. Thank you. And if this was useful, hey, please subscribe to our channel in YouTube. Please click the notifications bell when you do, and you'll receive additional updates and news as we upload them. And if you have an immigration case, please give us a call. We are here to help. We would love to help. Okay? That's all I got, folks. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. My name is Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C., where we fight for your American dream. And I will see you next time on our next episode of Deportation Defense Live. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.